Hey, what's going on YouTube? Ahnaris here with another video showcasing Starcraft 2. Today we're going to be kicking it back with a random 4v4. This is actually a game that I played, and this is my team down here at the bottom. We have Fun spawning as, I'm not even going to try to do the colors. Most of you know I'm pretty terrible with them. So Fun, BB Chu Protoss up here at the top. Then we have TL Rose, and then of course we have myself as Problem Sir. Great troll name. And then up here at the top, we are facing off a, like I said, this is just a random 4v4. So Zyko, the blue Protoss. Then we have Snake, Trisnels, which is kind of a cool name. And then Spiral Kill. This poor guy is the only Zerg on this entire game. I'm so sorry that Zerg is underrepresented in this matchup, but I promise you that it was still a very entertaining game nonetheless. It's, as you can see, it's pretty decently long. I think it's about 40 minutes or so in game time, and it had a pretty lousy ending, so I thought, you know, why not just go ahead and cast it? You guys are kind of wanting to watch a little bit of me play, so we're just going to go with that. Of course, the production tab over here, I'll just give you the rundown so you know the colors, or at least order. Trisnels, Zyko, Spiral Kill, Snake, BB Problem Sir, Fun, TL Rose. So basically, my team is down here, their team is up top. We are, actually one could say we are almost all warm colors, where there are mostly cool colors. So it's cool to be the warm team, even though this poor TL Rose person is like the odd man or woman out. So yeah, this is going to be just a regular old funsy game. I am Diamond in my 4v4s. I'm hoping I'll be promoted to Masters next season. I'm actually going to try to do a lot more 1v1s next season as well, as my schedule will be a little bit more free than it was this season. I actually don't think I've done any 1v1s at all this season. Not even on my Korean account. How terrible is that? I know, right? So I really want to get some more scared in Korea out. So let's talk about the builds that we see here. Right now, TL Rose could be going for some type of early pressure, as he or she is doing 2 racks, no gas. Fun looks like he's opening up with a pretty entertaining build. We've got 1 Rax Bunker Factory going down as well, so could be going for some Hellion Harass. Now, we did know at the point when we loaded this game this person was going to be Zerg, so I think actually this would be a pretty good decision to go ahead with that. I mean, of course, having this Overlord here, Fun nailing this early kill is a great thing, as this actually puts the Zerg at a bit of a disadvantage. We'll see 19 to 18 there, and looking and see he has to build an Overlord separate for this purpose. I'm not exactly sure what build this is. It doesn't look like he has a lot of drones, but he definitely is working on getting some gas income. Now, over here is Zyko. We see him opening up with, it looks like, 3 gateways total. 1 gas right now. He's going to have to drop a second one here in just a second or two if he wants to maintain that production. Trisnel's over here with a double gas. We see he's opening up with a factory. He's already got the reactor on the barracks. So he is definitely going to be going for some early game harassment. 4v4 is all about the early tier units, and a lot of times one-base plays. As you get into the higher leagues, you'll find that most of the games just involve some type of early as possible rush/cheese. Anything that can do the end of the game as quickly as possible is preferable. So, myself, I went into this with the plan of getting a very early robotics facility. You see that is just now morphing in around 512, 513. And I'm going to drop 2 additional gateways here in just a second. Go for a 3-gate robo. 3-gate robo is actually a build that I found to be fairly safe and around this level. Now, when I'm doing pre-mades with like Husky, Spinacia, stuff like that, I will usually go for something like a 4-gate. Again, just when we're playing with that team, it kind of evens out to that level where there's only cheese. But around this, which is just beneath that level, I find I can get away with 3-gate robo and, you know, early detection, because a lot of times DT harass is a big problem for the team, not just for me, but, you know, other players don't really know how to prepare for it. So I figure getting an Observer out is a good thing to do. And, of course, getting out Immortals will help counter any sort of Stalker pushes, Marauders, any sort of armored units, the low-tier Persuasion that we could be seeing here early today. So my 2 additional gateways are now warping in. You see they're going to be turned into gate or warp gates here in just a moment, around the 6:30 mark. Looking over here, looks like Zyko is managing about the same time as I am. And continuing on, we have the Zerg player opening up with a Baneling nest, so definitely wants to try to use some of that gas that he has been mining this whole time. Fun, on the other hand, looks like he is just having barrels of it, switching off and getting... Ooh, is he going to be getting Blue Flame? He's already got Blue Flame. Very nice. Now, I'm going to warn you, I'm probably going to miss some stuff here. I mean, again, a 4v4, trying to keep track of this laundry list of stuff as it happens is a pretty daunting task, especially when you get into the later stages of the game where you've got attacks going and multiple points in the map. And, you know, of course, I have my own perspective from this whole game as well that I kind of like to talk about. So I saw that nobody else was going for this expansion. Usually, if I'm playing in this spot, I'll go for this expansion, because honestly I get a little perturbed when people in the back go for this one right here. But all in all, I just decided, you know what, nobody else is going to be going for it. Now, Snake does have 4 Hellions over here, but watch out, Fun has some Hellions over there. Oh no, running into the Zerglings and way more Hellions than he can take on right now. So Fun is forced back into his part of the map. Unfortunately for him, still a lot of Marauders on the way. We see a couple Hellions coming over here, getting ready to try to bust into my base. You see I do have 1 Zealot, but also I have a nice healthy force right here. And I've kind of switched over to a lot more in the way of sentries, trying to burn down this gas. Those Hellions just come right up on my Zealot. And more important things over here as the Terran and the Protoss are engaging one another. TL Rose holding his or her own, trying to do some damage to those Stalkers, but unfortunately is forced to retreat. You see Spiral Kill Zerglings are just running, bypassing the army entirely. Those Hellions were forced to retreat because I did decide to move my army and to position here on this wall. And I basically had my Immortal there just to kind of LOL at the Hellions, which you see are going to come back in right once again. And you see I'm actually, okay, see right there. And I catch it and decide to park my Stalker just in the nick of time. Now, the rest of my army is actually coming over here. I'm going to try to defend while they are kind of streaming in here. Although notice over here the Hellions are forced to retreat back. Again, not really able to do anything. And, of course, this player is trying to send over reinforcements as well. A couple force wheels go down, trying to block Zyko's exit. But all in all, we have managed to hold. Dare I look at the Resources Lost tab right now. You can see that Fun has suffered a lot at this stage of the game. But then Snake coming in here, trying to do tons of damage to this mineral line. BB Chuyu has lost so many workers at this stage of the game. We actually switch over to the income tab and look at that right now. 8 workers compared to all this. I think I'm right here at 43, as I'm pretty much the only one with a functioning expansion at this stage. I'm trying to get up some additional gateways. Got my forge going, trying to get weapons level 1, and I think I'll also drop a robotics bay here at some point in the very near future, because I figured, okay, Bio, Stalker, alright, we're probably going to be a good idea to get those Colossi, because I don't really see too much in the way of anti-armor in the foreseeable future. Now, there is one observer here for BB Chuyu. Later on, he actually parks it in a decent spot. But again, those Hellions are going to be trying to come out. Zyko's pylon is spotted by Fun. And we see that Trisnels is trying to expand over here while taking out the rocks, hoping to maybe actually secure this expansion. So maybe leaving those rocks actually would be a good idea for him. Since he is a Terran player, it would be difficult for, you know, us Protoss players to actually get up there without using a Warp Prism or something like that. But he really wants to have immediate accessibility. Also, you know, you can transfer some workers over that way. And of course, Snake with these 2 additional Hellions coming into the mineral line. Uh-oh, they're spotted though, taken out by TL Rose, who shows up at the 11th hour with the Marines and Marauders. Myself, Problem Sir, deciding to come over here and check out this tree first off. But more importantly, I want to come up and check out the high yield expansion, because I've got it in my mind that I want to be taking it over. I, at this point, decided that I need to get some more Zealots in, and I'll be dropping, oh, I just did. I dropped the Twilight Council. I want to get that Zealot charge as soon as possible. Also get the Blink upgrade, because I know that this person over here, you see how he's got, see how BB Chuyu has moved as observer into position over this army. I saw that and I'm like, wow, that is a crap ton of Stalkers. You know what, man? I'll bet you he's going to have Blink, you know, and of course my Immortals are going to be able to do a lot of extra damage to that. Going to have to watch out, though, where I engage, because, again, going for this Colossus play could be very risky with those Blink Stalkers. Come in, snipe them, get back out. We see Centrifugal Hook's upgrade is on the way here for Spiral Kill, who is still currently, no, he's got 2 bases now, so that's good. We have Trisnels finally taking this expansion, probably transfer some SCVs down here in the near future. Now, I decided to go ahead and take another expansion as well because, well, frankly, everybody else is expanding. I generally wait until I take my second expansion before or after everybody already has one expansion on my team, because I don't want to be that guy who just expands like 8 different places and macros up for, you know, a good 5 to 7 minutes straight and leaves my other 3 teammates just hanging with no income. I've seen players do that, and let me just tell you, they are immensely happy with the amount of income they have for about 2 minutes until they realize that that type of play just doesn't work 99% of the time. So Triznal's coming over here trying to deal with Fun's Hellions as we see Spiral Kill actually taking a couple fire shots down from above. And now those Hellions try to come in. Snake once again trying to find a hole down here, but I am not letting him have that. He does eventually come up to this expansion and start harassing it. But I decide, you know what, man? I want to have that expansion. That is mine to have, and you are not going to do anything about it. So I do drive those Hellions away. Now look and see Spiral Kill and Triznals. God, I keep wanting to call them Spriznals. I don't even know why. What is a Spriznal? That sounds like a twisty fruit. Candy. Cup. Potato. I'm just saying things now at this point. But anyways, we have here this expansion actually just kind of taken out there with a quick ninja drop. We're seeing TL Rose now forced to retreat back. And again, look over here. Now Zyko is going to be moving into position, trying to take out this expansion. And I am actually moving away. I don't know those Stalkers are on the way. So I've decided that it's probably a better idea to stay around this area so that way I can respond relatively quickly here, and more importantly, dedicate the resources needed to guarding this already in existent expansion. Those poor Hellions running up to their immediate death as the blue and purple forces amass just outside my doorstep. We see Spiral Kill and Triznals deciding to move down along with Corruptor support, man. This is a powerful army indeed, and it looks like Fun is going to get busted up here. His base is suffering some very serious casualties. Purple actually choosing to pull back and guard his main with his forces, leaving Blue to fend for himself up here, while just slowly pressing forward, and we see that Triznals and Spiral Kill continuing to move forward, knocking out this expansion, or this main base. Fun is going down, man. He is definitely not having a good time over here, while these Stalkers continue to press forward, knocking out my high-yield expansion. I decide to go ahead and send my forces over to help out Fun because I realize, you know what, man, Fun is already established, whereas up here, I've only got a Nexus, a couple pylons. No probes were lost in the making of this replay, at least in this stage of the game. Many more die later on. But I figured, okay, Stalker's probably going to come and try to attack my natural expansion next, so I'm going to move into position to try to catch them. Now, over here, you see I move over, hoping to try to catch them while he's continuing to move down. I'm not able to, as he does blink away. But you see my unit compositions, I think, is actually pretty solid at this point. I would like to have possibly a couple Archons at this stage, but you know, with 2 expansions right now, and you see, actually, I ended up losing my... Why did I not have probes working on those? I don't know. Probably just a faux pas on my part. But I realized that I need to try to build up my forces a little bit more and just work with what I have right now, because with the action really ramping up, I figured I'm not going to have enough time to go ahead and commit to try to get different types of forces, like Archons, before, you know, forces like this were needed. So you see right now at this stage, I am maxed. I'll actually show you the army sizes at this point, which you see there's a pretty big gap here in between. But then Snake comes over here with this drop that's just like, oh my god, dude, are you serious? Can you possibly fit any more units on this high ground? But the problem is I'm already wholly committed up here to this, and if I decide to go back down and try to defend, I'm going to be really limited in my effectiveness, because these Marines have the high ground. A lot of my army is Zealots, Sentries, you know, units that are going to take a pounding from those Marines while they just run around. I can try to hold them back, but again, those siege tanks will be able to just pelt me from afar. So I decided just to go ahead and commit to attacking up here, knocking out this expansion. I want to do as much damage as possible, economic-wise, infrastructure, any damage that I can do to their army. I figure, okay, there's 3 people down there with, let me just show you my vision real quick. Here, look at this. You can see how many bases we have. I figured that at some point, you know, these guys could just get together and trash this since it's just one person. So I decided, okay, I'll, you know, say something about it. Can anyone do something about this massive purple? Because you see it has kind of moved through my base. Fortunately, my 2 mining bases are operational, and I do have this expansion up here as well as I continue to move forward. And you see BB Chuyu is actually forced to retreat back just a little bit, but I decided to stay and continue pressing on the attack against Snake here. But some Banelings actually running in here and doing a decent bit of damage. Not too much. The Colossus holds his ground, and the rest of it gets mopped up by the Stalkers, and of course the nearby Colossus and Zealots as well. You see Protoss down here. Zyko tried to build up. You see he still has a lot of his infrastructure largely maintained. Trisnels has a great position right here. It is near impossible for me to break this without suffering serious casualties, as this is a great wall with these Marines tucked in nice and tight around the structures. Now, all the while, my base has just been, you know, it's foobar. There is really nothing left of that except for my natural down here. Even this Nexus goes down, and the probes are just like, yep, we are that ballsy. See, they're actually going down right there. And like I said, at this point in the game, I'm not really worried too much about this down here. I just wrote it off. I'm like, okay, whatever happens, it's going to be dead because these guys just aren't cleaning it up, so whatever. That's not a big deal. This is still mining, fully saturated. And, of course, this base is still in existence. So I decided to go ahead and try to bring a bunch of new warp gates online. I do suffer pretty heavy casualties here because I run into some very heavy resistance with these siege tanks trying to bust forward. So I do retreat, keeping my army largely intact, and try to move down this way. But again, I don't know this army is here at this stage, so I end up running into them, and then they eventually move in and just pick me off little by little. So now BB Chuyu has managed to fend off this attack. We see here that TL Rose is going to start trying to saturate this expansion. And, of course, his or her base looks pretty good right here as well. Fun is mining a pretty decent amount right here, running off of 1 geyser as well. Now, notice that Zerg actually has a couple different expansions up here. He's got the natural, he's got the high yield as well, which is a pretty big deal at this stage. I mean, I also have my own high yield right here, which I see those geysers just finished a second or two ago. But notice how much money I have. Again, that's just because I'm like, you know what? No, this is all in, and I didn't really honestly expect to be able to get all this, so that's why I'm just going to let that money accumulate how I did. But I'm like, okay, so I'll just start spending it on Stalkers. Good mobile unit, good for hit and run tactics. And that's what I decided to open up with. I don't want to engage this army because Trisnels down here has so much firepower. I see these siege tanks, and I'm like, you know what? There is no way I'm going to actually be able to do a whole lot about this. So, in preparation, I decide to throw down 3 robotics facility. I've got the money for it. I've got a high yield expansion. I've got this base still mining. Why not? I'm going to have a decent bit of income for a while, especially since this Nexus is on its way back onto the table. So I'm going to move out here. First off, make sure there's no expansion. I'm going to deny that income, and then I'm going to move back down and start harassing the Protoss base. I think at some point I bring a pylon over here and create a forward position. But you see how I come in? I just like, okay, first off, knock off the defenses, take that out, and then I want to start taking out the power to the buildings. Now, all the while, Zyko down here losing to a few Stalkers. He's also got 1 Void Ray working on his base as well, and we see that a bunch of Zerglings or Banelings are coming up into Fun's base. TL Rose's base is still largely intact. This expansion also looks like it suffered, well, no, actually a worker strike. They just don't feel like working right now. All hanging out there. So I decided to bring over my Stalkers and continue to do a whole bunch of damage to this base. Right now, I'm working on knocking out the power to these structures just because I know that I've got to do something about the immediate threat here. And you see this army, which actually comes in and does a lot of damage. I try to blink in and get as many of these Stalkers here as possible, but I don't see these other Stalkers blinking in until it's too late. I figured that I could handle it. I mean, you look here and see the upgrades 2 and 2. I myself right now are 1 and 2. I figured still I can knock out enough of this army to make it at least mildly successful. But no, those Stalkers blink in, force me to run away. And Zyko all the while is still working on this base. I feel like I could just do more damage continuing to keep pressure on our opponent. And you see, I have denied that income right there. We can actually look at Purple's income. Snake, he is sitting at 0. He does have 1 command center, so I've managed to take him out. BB Chuyu, you see, is right there, knocked pretty much out of the picture. And as far as the other 3 players in the top team, they're doing pretty good so far. But I do try to regroup here in just a minute and keep the pressure on. Again, that's kind of my goal at this point. Because my base is so far up here, so far out of the way, that I figured it's less likely to be attacked since all the forces, since I can tell, you know, it's not that I think that it's going to be attacked just because it's way far away, but because I see there's 2 different armies down here dealing with it. So it's very likely that my army or my base is going to be a little bit easier, or a little bit easier to defend there. So I decide that I'm just going to keep trying to apply pressure and see if I can take some pressure off of these guys down here. Now, I'm successful to a point, about as much as one person can be. But you see here, I mean, you've got 3 other people that are building up a decent bit right now. Of course, blue has a lot of functional gateways right now, pretty oversaturated on this mineral line because his expansion's taken out. But now I've started to warp in, a bunch of zealots, got some immortals as well. As you see, they're actually kind of idle right now because I don't have a lot of money, and I'm also pretty close to being supply blocked. So I decided, you know what, I'll just deal with that, let my money build up for a little bit, warp in another wave of units here in just a second. But right now, I do have weapons level 3, I believe, on the way. Yep, trying to get that as soon as possible because I want those immortals to just annihilate the structures. That's another thing that I want from them, is I really, really want to come in and just further try to build on what I was doing with the Stalkers, which was just plowing through as much infrastructure as possible. So knocking out these Marauders, I'm able to come up here and you see force the retreat of these barracks. Snake trying to do his own thing up there. All the while, Spiral Kill is able to continue to make inroads up here, down here rather, with Fun's base. Just, he's burning now, so that's going to be going away in just a second or two. We also see this expansion getting taken out by Zyko. TL Rose doing what he can to hold off, as well as BB Chuyu, but now I'm running over here working on taking out this base, making my way into the main. You see the Immortals are just doing so much damage right now. I do also have this expansion that I have claimed in the name of Problem Sirville Landingtons, and going to be moving forward now with my Zealots. Weapons level 3 is just about complete. TL Rose still trying to mount a defense here against the Terran player. You see Trisnels actually has a renewed sense of whatever, I don't know, but he's got a lot of Marines, Marauders, and Siege Tanks, and of course Vikings as well. All these Corruptors, obviously they were there to try to initially counter the Colossi, and of course other air-oriented units as well. The Stalker, or Colossi aren't really air-oriented, but you know what I'm talking about. So here I am back over, moving over, knocking out these barracks, as I have seen they have landed once again. We see that Trisnel's expansion down here is good. He does have a sensor tower, which at this stage of the game is actually vitally important. Trisnel's now, his force is starting to dwindle, so he could try to make a run at this base at the Planetary Fortress, which would be kind of difficult considering there's a lot of SCVs here actually repairing it. But now the Banelings are going to come up here and going to go for my mineral line. I'm like, oh god, no, please don't. But you know what, whatever. I see it, I'm like, you know what, let them die. I don't really care at this point, because there's really not a whole lot that I could do about it anyways. I was in this weird state of like, should I care? I don't really know if I should care about it. I had this huge force that I figured, okay, well, right now I'm sitting at 160 to 200. Chances are, anything I do right now, looking at the grand scheme of things, I'm either going to win with what I've got, or we're not going to win at all, and a few probes aren't really going to change that. And I say that because not like if my teammates, well, if they had really anything right now, and I'm not saying they're bad players, it's just at this stage of the game they don't have a lot. So if they had stuff, I might be more inclined to really care about it, but no, not really. I know I've got a pretty decent sized army. We can actually just see I have the second biggest roaming army in the field right now. The red player, of course, he has got actually no, I do have the biggest army right now because I've got next to no probes, 10 probes right now, working on minerals and gas. So as we move forward here, we see that this base, once again, getting taken out. These Immortals actually live for a long time. It's actually really funny how long these guys live. I do decide to engage an army over here eventually, trying to knock down their numbers, as I'm trying to buy Fun enough time to do something here. Basically just need to even the odds. I come over here, I see these Ultras, and I'm like, oh my god, yes please. Yes please, my Immortals. Oh, my Immortals, they're having such a blast right now. All these Ultralisks, they have only got the one armor upgrade. Of course, my Immortals having +3. My Zealots getting sent into their death, but I don't care. I'm just like, all right, man, you know what? Ultras versus Immortals. Damn the Zealots. Full speed ahead. Let's do this. So this base, it's gone. He tries to come in here with the Ultralisks again. I'm like, Spiral Kill, what are you doing, man? You could have saved those, but no, he wanted to try to mount a last-second defense on his hive. The hive cluster was indeed under attack, and now we see here that red is continuing forward. All the while, he has knocked out my base up there, so that is finished off. Over here, I have a Nexus that I dropped. Just like, you know what, whatever. I don't have any pros for it. Not going to really worry too much about it at this point, as I have been supply blocked. And over here, I try to engage this army and knock out a lot of it. I suffer pretty heavy casualties. But I do it knowing that Trisnels is the guy with the big army in the field right now. And if I can come in and destroy the infrastructure, if I lose half my army in the process, I'll take it, because I know that Trisnels is effectively going to be knocked out of the picture here. So all we have to really deal with is, you know, this over here, which I kind of figured is probably close to being mined out, which we can see it is. And, you know, of course, the Zerg player, which got knocked out. And Trisnels, of course, has mined out this expansion as well. He's got so much money, though. So now it's down to myself. We can actually just look at the units tab at this stage and see that Terran has got 9 Marauders, 37 Marines, and I have 9 Immortals, 1 Stalker. And you see our forces up here really cannot compete with what our opponent has. Bunch of Zerglings as well as Corruptors too. Fortunately, this expansion was taken out. And BBGU's trying to hold on to this one. Trisnels, of course, has a lot of siege tanks, so that's going to just annihilate those poor probes and Zealot right there. So my Immortals are still kicking it. You see 18 kills, 14, 15, let's see, 24 I think is the highest one so far. And those Zerglings come in. I see that, and I'm like, oh god! So I try to hump this cliff right here, basically, and I'm like, oh cool, Ultras. I'm just going to go ahead and focus those down one by one. You know, forget the Zerglings. Who needs those? I want to kill me some Ultras. So that Zerg player, actually, let me see what his income is, or what his money is right now. 308. He has got really, really bad income. Of course, I'm not really one to talk at this stage, but I see this infrastructure right here, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I still can't really engage this. You know, I can try to come in and take the siege tanks out of position, but then, you know, the Marine Marauder team can just, at that point, they can just stem, chase me down, kill me, and that's going to be it. So I'd rather spend my time trying to do as much as I can to knock out the infrastructure of the other players here, and of course Trisnel himself. Fun's trying to build up. He does have the rocks, which unfortunately are very close to dying. I don't know if Red actually spots that and kills it or not, but we see this expansion over here is going to be going down. The planetary fortress is being repaired, but it just gets burst down by Trisnel's huge firepower. 3 Marines, Marauders, and siege tanks. Actually, the siege tanks? Yeah, there are 3 too. Snake is getting pounded on by TL Rose's Vikings, doing a good job landing there, but we see there's a Banshee who's cloaked and will be able to drive these Vikings away. Really, we don't have any detection at this stage, as this is a planetary fortress and not an orbital command. Now, over here, I'm just knocking out this expansion, knocking out the Ultralis Cavern. So I've taken this guy out. I've taken out pretty much all of the main base here. With my force over the course of the game, but unfortunately we're not able to mop it all up. It can only be so many places at once, and the other players doing their best to hold off the armies for as long as possible. But you see that TL Rose does have 5 Vikings right now, which this poor Viking just narrowly escaped defeat. Now BB2U is going to try to actually get some vision here on the high ground with whatever he can, be it Vikings, scan, what have you. Here comes the Immortals, but at this point, this is where I first realized, you know what, man, these Banshees are going to be a serious problem. But I figured the Vikings can handle it, not knowing that they actually has Cloak yet. I saw these probes, I'm like, oh man, you got to watch out, make sure those probes don't get a good surround. Because, yes, they're probes, and, you know, they're probes, but still, they can do a lot of damage to the Immortals, you know, knock the shields down and leave them vulnerable for something else. But I see at this stage he's wanting to run, so I positioned my Immortals on the hold position to keep the probes from running away, thus destroying another expansion. But look at this! My adversary, Snake, appears with Banshees. He has 5 of them. My poor Immortals. I'm just panicking. What can I do? Nothing. All I can do is die. No! As the red player slowly makes his way down, he's lost even more of his forces, down to just a few units. Several siege tanks, though. It is up to the Banshees to do what they can. TL Rose not able to get any vision on these Banshees. I decide to go ahead and go south and see if I can open up this base. But see, there's rocks. I don't expect that. I thought they'd be killed by now. So I try to stutter my attacks and just get away, all the while attacking these destructible rocks, hoping that there's some chance we could do something about this. But no. Alas, the last Immortal. Oh, he's an Executor. Will he live? Will he die? I think he's going to die a horrible explosive death. Yes, indeed, he does go down. The last immortal. He did his best. Unfortunately, this is one of those games where doing your best is not good enough. So Snake now is able to mop up these forces right here, and this will bring our tail to a full and complete stop. And there's my GG. As the game is now over, I'm going to actually pause it because we just hang out for another second or two. But, yeah, that is going to be it, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. This was, like I said, just a really, really kind of fun, entertaining game, really laid back. It's not a pro-level game by any means, but still, me having just fun, casual play nonetheless. And I hope you enjoyed it. And, hey, you know what? A lot of people say that casters always cast games where they win. So, ha to you, 1 point in the side of casters losing. I don't know. I got nothing. But either way, I still thought this was a fun game nonetheless. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please consider subscribing. That helps me out a lot. And, of course, leave a comment down below. Yeah, good stuff. Casual play for the win. All right, we'll see you in the next video.